see here for a little while now is the cars. Now we're going to see whose car really handles good. We're getting strung out here. We're going to make some long runs. It's who's got the best handling package now.
Well, Joe Nemechek told us after last night's win, he could have run off the corners on the bottom and on the bottom against the yellow line all the way down the straightaway, all the way around the racetrack. So if you can get a Busch Series car to do that, chances are somebody in the Winston Cup garage has figured out how to do the same thing if necessary. Let's go back to Steve Burns on Tony Santanicola.
Well, Mike, it may not be a big story. Tony, we got all excited watching you carry that carburetor, but there's no problem.
No, I always have a spare carburetor every race. I just forgot to bring it out.
All right, thanks for clearing that up, Tony.
Just happen to have one in my pocket.
Yeah, well, you know, we've been watching Sterling, and he certainly doesn't have a carburetor problem.
Well, you better believe as Tony walked behind every pit carrying that carburetor, he got all the team's attention saying, hey, look, they might have a carburetor problem.
And good news from Todd Bodine's crew. Billy Kerwood has been released from the infield care center. He is on crutches, but it appears that nothing is broken. So that's good news. Michael Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Sterling Marlin lead in Daytona.
The Pepsi 400 on Fox is brought to you by Pepto-Bismol. First aid for stomachs. Use as directed. By Ford. No boundaries. By Circuit City. We know how you feel. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by Rocky Mountain Cold Coors Light. Cold down easy.
Along with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, welcome back live to Daytona, and hope you're enjoying your holiday weekend here on Fox. Here's today's halfway recap brought to you by Coors Light. The pole sitter Kevin Harvick led for the first 13 laps. Has not really been a factor since. That first 26 laps had 4 different cautions here. Jeff Gordon led for a while. Jeff Burton led for 23 consecutive laps. Even Sterling Marlin in there for a while now. Michael Waltrip, your leader, followed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. We mentioned at the top of the broadcast, and I've talked about it throughout the broadcast, the DEI cars. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated have won 4 of the last 6 restrictor plate races coming in. Jeff Hammond, do they put, and we say they, we mean DEI, more of an emphasis on racing here or restrictor plate racing to have such success?
I think that's pretty obvious right there, Chris, that they do. But I think one thing we're kind of like forgetting is what's the best way probably to miss the big one? Be in front of it. So if you've got cars that can go out front and lead a pack, the likelihood of getting caught back up in a big mess back in the back is less. So these guys figure that if they work on their cars, keep them up front, the less chance of getting caught up in the big one, and they're doing a really good job of that tonight.
Why don't more teams put the same kind of emphasis on it?
I think it's just a fact that they kind of like losing sight of that, and I believe maybe Matt Yoakum has some more insight on it.
Well, Jeff, when the late Dale Earnhardt hired Richie Gilmore to head up the engine department at DEI, he told him the most special part to him was the restrictor plate racing. He wanted to have a top-notch deal. They spend over $2 million a year just for the restrictor plate program. They also have 3 full-time employees. From the last race at Talladega last year up until the Daytona 500 this year, they had a plate engine on the dyno or on the chassis dyno every day. That's the kind of emphasis they put on their plate program, and it shows.
And Michael Waltrip, his last race more than a year and a half ago, came at his only career win in Winston Cup at the Daytona 500. Let's go back upstairs.
Michael Waltrip leading Dale Earnhardt Jr. teammates, a 6-car breakaway draft, plus Jeff Gordon in that draft, who's 1 lap down. A lot of brothers in NASCAR racing. There are the Burtons. Right now, Jeff is 9th, Ward is 10th. There are 3 Wallace brothers led by Rusty in 8th, 3 Bodine brothers led by Todd in 22nd, and 2 Labonte brothers led by Bobby in 16th in this race.
I just believe some of the reasons that the DEI cars, Michael Dale Jr. and those guys run so good here. Dale Earnhardt had this intense desire to win here at Daytona. And Larry, you and I talked about this. I believe that he put more emphasis personally when he was driving on this race, and when he started his own team, he put the same kind of emphasis on winning at Daytona. This is the race he wanted to win so desperately, so badly, and he only got the win at one time.
When I look at those 2 cats in front, Michael Waltrip has always run good at Daytona and Talladega. When I look at the man in second, I think the cliche, the apple don't fall far from the tree.
You got it, buddy.
Singular Wireless customers can participate in our virtual pit crew feature from your phones by sending the word Fox as a text message to number 151. We are past halfway at 87 laps. You ride with Robbie Gordon there. He is 38th, 2 laps down. And talk about where you start doesn't matter so much. What's happened to our front row? Kevin Harvick, who started on the pole, is back at 30th. And right behind him, the outside pole sitter, Jeffrey Bodine, in 31st.
See the Harvick on the Fox tracks there at 184 miles per hour, and right now he is about 9.5 seconds behind the leader.
Steve Burns with more.
Mike, our pole sitter Kevin Harvick sustained damage to the right front of that race car, about where the headlight decal would be. There's actually a dent or a hole. The team put a patch on, but it blew off, so they've made another one on the next pit stop. They've made it out of sheet metal and duct tape, and they'll apply that to that right front about where the decal, the headlamp decal would be.
Thanks, Steve. Harvick suffering along in 30th. 35 cars are on the lead lap. Now our outside pole sitter, Jeffrey Bodine, Dick Berggren.
Well, Jeffrey's problem is also in the right front corner, Mike. He had a little tangle with another car. They've worked on it on several occasions while they had pitted, but it's really not quite right. He's also complained he doesn't like the rear shock absorbers in the car. He's had a vibration earlier this evening. It's just been a whole host of problems for Jeffrey Bodine. Come out.
Dick, the guy who won the very first Pepsi 400 night race at Daytona, Jeff Gordon, has been doing his best Monty Hall imitation, making deals to work his way to the front. But he may have come to a close because the 15 and 8 cars from DEI are going to try to keep him a lap down. They're not going to try to let him get by and work any kind of deal with the 24 because they know how stout Jeff Gordon is here at Daytona.
And I think that's what there's two guys up there. They say, hey, that cat can beat us. And we got the best Chevrolets out here. And we want to keep him behind us if we can.
But, I mean, Jeff Gordon, Darrell, I think he's doing the best thing he can do. He's sitting there in third. He don't need to start racing because he's not going to drive up there past those guys by himself without any help. The closer he can be to them, he may catch him off guard if a caution should come out. So he's doing what he has to do, and about the only thing he can do.
You know, and following up a little bit on what we were talking about Dale Earnhardt and my brother Michael, I think he saw in Michael how great he has always run here at Daytona. And I think that he felt like if he put Michael in a car like he's out there in tonight, that Michael could win races, not only here at Daytona, but everywhere.
Jeff Green battling Kyle Petty in the 45 and Jimmy Spencer in the 41. This is a race for 25th, and behind them, the third Earnhardt Incorporated car, Steve Park in the number 1, and our pole sitter Kevin Harvick and Stacy Compton. In winning the 2001 Daytona 500, Michael Waltrip led 27 laps, the most he had ever led at Daytona in one race. Tonight, he's been out in front for 31 laps.
The Pepsi 400 on Fox is brought to you by the joy of Pepsi, the choice of Victory Lane.
95 of 160 laps complete. Mike Joy with Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds. As Michael Waltrip continues to lead his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. and right behind them sits Jeff Gordon, the defending Winston Cup champion, trying to get a lap back. Now, just as we listen to the drivers and crews communicate, so do the other teams. Listen to Michael Waltrip.
Still clear, single file. Just for information, that 24 cars, the 4th car in line, he's pretty good. So if the caution comes back, I don't think we ought to give him lap back. It might bite him.
And now Jeff Gordon.
I know you know this, but those guys are not going to help you get your lap back. So keep digging on them. Keep digging.
That's Danny Culler, Michael's spotter, and what they needed to see that play, that rerun of what we saw there a little earlier when Gordon split them and tried to go up through the middle to get a lap back. He's going to be pretty desperate to get that lap back if a caution does come out.
And I tell you, Danny Culler is a sharp guy. He spotted for years and years for Dale Earnhardt Sr. He's also the man that spotted all of those Winston Cup races and Busch events for Kevin Harvick last year.
Good spot. I think that was Robbie Loomis talking to Jeff Gordon.
Now on protocol, as Michael Waltrip goes way up high.
Traffic.
Around race traffic. Hunt Strickland there. You do not have to you don't have to back out of it and roll out of it and coast to the caution flag. So if a flag were to come out, as long as Michael's not in any jeopardy with the track blocked in front of him, he can haul the mail all the way around to the yellow.
Two things they tell you. One, in the driver's meeting. First of all, let the leader keep the other guys a lap down. Now, some of these guys will pull over and let you get a lap back. I'm not a big fan of that. But it also depends on who it is. And that's why I'm not a big fan of it. If you're going to do it for one guy, you ought to do it for everybody. But in my opinion, you should never pull over and let anybody get a lap back.
Hey, guys, I'm pretty impressed, though. I know we had 3 cautions in the first 18 laps. We're almost 100 laps into this, and we only have 2 cars that's out. Kenny Wallace in the 98, Johnny Benson in the 10. Mike Wallace is back out there with repairs 59 laps down, and we showed Tony Stewart that's back out there 33 laps down.
98 complete, closing in on 100 laps. Let's go to pit road and Dick Bergman for tonight's Ford No Boundaries moment.
Compare Rusty Wallace's starting positions to his finishing positions this year, and he has passed 162 cars. Tonight, he started in the 37th spot. He has run in the top 10 all night long. In the last 10 races here at Daytona, he has scored more top 5s, more top 10s than anyone. He has never won a Winston Cup points race here. He is overdue. Maybe tonight, Mike.
Maybe. He certainly has come from the back. One of several drivers to start back from provisional land and work their way up into the top 10. Wallace presently is 7th.
And at this point in the season, I mean, we're here around halfway. He's looking at the big picture. Oh, you know, a guy like him, he's a big picture driver. He's won the championship before. Not too concerned he hadn't won a race yet, but that will get to him before long.
Last night in the Busch Series race, Joe Nemechek won by staying on the bottom of the racetrack, right where these cars are running through the corner, and nobody could challenge him to the outside. Darrell, how is this type of racing tonight different?
There is an art to leading a race. Michael could possibly be backing out the throttle at just at the right places. At the right places, so it bottlenecks everybody up, keeps them behind him.
Boy, speaking of right places, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 8 car was in the wrong place. Jeff Gordon in the 24 ran up there right on his rear bumper, backed away, run up again, and got him loose and kicked him out of line. Now, Jeff Gordon is right behind leader Michael Wallace.
We're about to see how strong Junior's car is. If he can pull back up the outside behind Michael, I think that'd show us something.
Well, here's what I like. Dale Jarrett won down here a lot. 3 Daytona 500. He's just cruising right now. He's sitting there in a car that I think he's very, very happy with. He's not going to put up a real big fight right now.
But here comes Junior on the outside, came up alongside, and now going to drift back just a little bit on Ryan Newman as they get up to turn 3.
77 slipping in there, too.
Things are heating up as we cross 100 of 160 laps in the Pepsi 400. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Welcome back to the Pepsi 400 on Fox. Michael Waltrip, who won the 2001 Daytona 500 in his 463rd Winston Cup race, his first and only career victory. Let's bring you up to date. He currently leads now. Lap 2, Tony Stewart with Sadler and Kenseth contributing, spins 3 times out of the race and repairs. Johnny Benson into the wall, 3 cracked ribs. Remember, he had earlier injuries with ribs during the season. Then Steve Park, as you see Kevin Harvick, the pole sitter, being shuffled to the back. Steve Park getting into trouble with Mike Wallace. That's the Carrot Top car. Wallace has since come back in the race, and Kurt Busch having a Martha Stewart night, getting himself into a lot of trouble. First of 2 penalties for him. Jeff Gordon had the